Sky and Earth Watch Weather, the storm report for July 20th, 2019, approximately 2:22 Chicago time. I'm broadcasting right from the center of this huge conglomeration rolling across the upper states right now. It's pushing a very cold temperature wind in front of it, high winds with driving rains. So when the front edge of it pushed through where I am, it was a scene kind of like from Gilligan's Island, where there were hard driving rains and trees and bushes going sideways. There's a kind of a sound of a continuous distant rolling thunder kind of sound. I'm not sure if it's actually is thunder, but I think it's more like a kind of a deep baritone kind of wind sound, almost like wind going through a deep cave. Not a high pitch, but a low pitch. We've been having these storms rolling through, at least for the last 3 days. We've had them coming through once a day, and basically since winter ended and spring was supposedly here, we've had them quite frequently. And what they do is they leave some traces behind. So basically every day since spring, well, not every day, but many days after these roll through, the next day it's standing water soaking it into the street and under the streets. Also, these storms continuously have been leaving branches and leaves in the roads, and those branches and leaves in the roads then go on to clog the gutters and fill the under the streets up with branches and things like that, which puts a stress on infrastructure and city expenditures, taxes. And the constant standing water, what it does is it gets into cracks. You can see there's a puddle there in front of that, and it expands and contracts, and it's causing some places to rise, and it's causing sinkholes in other places. Here's some more pictures of the leftovers of these storms as they usually roll through overnight. The next day, standing water. You can see then the sun heats it. It gets into these cracks, expands these cracks. These are all things that are as the climate changes and presents us with different kinds of challenges than we're normally used to, and those are going to end up being paid for by taxpayers. But it's one of those things, if you're paying attention to your surroundings, if you're watching the little things, this is something you're going to see in the Midwest, where you're seeing this debris in the street almost every day, and nobody's going to go out there and pick it up or whatever. People, tree branches coming down, people pile them on their curbside, and this is kind of a new phenomenon now. So that's a change. But I'm kind of digressing. I want to get back to the main point. So this is from yesterday. This is July 19, the radar image, and you can see these pretty serious storms rolling through the same area. These storms caused power outages up here in Minnesota. They've been causing flooding. It used to be spring was flood season. Well, we went through spring flood season. Now we're on our second flood season. Let me see if I did this right. Bear with me for a second here. Trying to pull up the, anyways, I'll just zoom in. Right here where this blob is, that's Minnesota. They still have power outages there. Then moving over, there's Wisconsin. Over here is the Great Lake with Michigan, and down here Illinois, Ohio. So these things have been rolling through one after another, not non-stop, not continuously, but every day, every other day for a while, then maybe a couple days off, and then they come again. So this is something that Mr. MMB pointed out, and who else? GSM channel maybe? That this, you can barely see the United States underneath that, and I'm trying to get my drawing tool out so I can draw on this. But what people are pointing out, I'll just trace over the United States here. Right there's the Great Lakes, California, and there's Florida. So Minnesota right around here, Wisconsin. So what people are pointing out is that there's been an extreme change in the Gulf Stream. Basically, this wind coming through here at the top, this pink color, is much colder and shifted position from what's normal. Like, basically, my understanding of what the people who study it are saying is that this is a winter pattern, never before seen at this time of year in this area. So let's see, we need to. So just to compare, they're saying that these jet streams are pushing this cold air through, and definitely when this came through here today, it was definitely cold over here. Prior to that, it was pretty warm and humid, and now it's pretty nice to be outside. It's pretty cool, and I don't know what the temp is, but if I had to guess, I would have to say it's about 60 degrees on a summer day. And you know, we just had high heat warnings yesterday and the day before, and they said it would be emergency hot today again. But it was a little suspicious to me the way that they kept pushing it almost like a propaganda. And it did get super hot yesterday, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But meanwhile, let's look at what it looks like today for these storms coming through. So that was yesterday, July 19. Now this is July 20. It looks almost like an instant replay. The storm tracking through the same areas, the same states. And you know, these storms are taking down trees, branches every day. They're leaving puddling water on roads. I shouldn't say every day, but almost every day to every other day. For the last 4 days, it's been every day. They're leaving inches of rain. And you know, how many of these can come through day after day after day before things drastically begin to change? So this is the real-time radar view right now as I'm broadcasting this at 2:44 p.m. Chicago time. You can see, you know, same areas affected, same areas hit. And that's a pretty significant storm. A lot of cold air at the front of that. And now as it goes through, it's really cool. Cool air. Sometimes these storms will roll through and cool things down, and then it'll get hot immediately again. But it doesn't feel like it's doing that today, so maybe these guys are right about it. So this is what some of these people are talking about. This graphic is courtesy NOAA, who study this a lot more than I do. That this jet stream that's coming through and pushing this cold air through is unprecedented for July. This is a winter system. Astonishing winter-like jet stream threatens 2 provinces with July snow, and you can see there, never before in mid-July, big jet stream. You know, and never before means as long as we've had written records, which is, you know, maybe somebody kept a journal 200 years ago for this area. As far as I know, there wasn't much record keeping up until Lewis and Clark came to the U.S. Maybe, I'm not sure. But you know, comparisons are comparisons. You know, you want to talk about a comparison. They've been promoting, you know, all these heat emergency warnings and saying things, public service announcements, saying things like, you must keep water with you at all times or you could die. Saying things like, if you feel dizzy, that means you have heat stroke and you need to go to the emergency room. Well, you know, what was it, 92 degrees yesterday and humid? Yeah, it feels hot, but I hate to do the old man comparison, but when we were kids, you know, we were out in this heat, running, playing all day, and I'm sure there still are kids doing it. You know, we were in our shoulder pads and helmets and doing 2-a-day practices. You know, and nobody died. You know, I'm sure, you know, I'm not trying to be insensitive to anyone who's lost somebody to heat illness or whatever. But, you know, and I understand that, you know, they want to prepare people and for the worst. And there are people who are, you know, more sensitive than others. But, you know, this country, I assume that there were hot days throughout history where people continued to work, continued to farm, continued to go about their daily activities. And really, you know, it just kind of reminds me of this trend where, like, last winter they had the, what was it, the winter vortex, where the winter temperatures dropped down to where they used to be all winter, but they dropped down into the, you know, negative 20, 30 Fahrenheit for 1 day or 1 or 2 days. And it was like a national emergency for this area, and they opened heating shelters and told people to stay home. But, you know, once again, when we were growing up, I mean, that was even the winter before that, there was 2 weeks of negative 20 degrees and nobody said anything. I remember construction workers out working. So, you know, it's just different weather, and it's different messages on the weather that we're getting from basically media and .govs. So back to the Gulf Stream phenomenon. So here's, this is from ADAPT 2030. Watch below, snow in July. Seriously, can this happen? So apparently they got, you know, 3 to 9 inches of snow up there in Canada. And, you know, once again, people say, yeah, well, yeah, but that's in Canada. Well, it's, you know, they're saying never before seen. So I guess they probably might know. So here's a graph again from ADAPT 2030. Shows, I guess the dot up there at the top shows where the jet stream is supposed to be. And then this graphic shows a pattern that normally we would only see in January or, you know, in the coldest time of the year. And here's another picture of that jet stream kind of coming through from California on the left there. Here's California. And this is the United States. And this is Canada up here. So it's pushing through, and it's pushing cold air in front of it. And really, I guess, you know, it's been kind of irritating to me just kind of seeing the, or hearing the way that they've been promoting the heat emergencies. you know, it's almost like they're trying to tell you, like, you have to stop your life because it's getting hot. I mean, some of these, what was that one? So, you know, like, I noticed what they were doing is they weren't telling us what the temperature was going to be. They were telling us what the heat index was going to be. So they're putting temps up that say 110, you know, across, you know, normally where it doesn't get that hot, you know, maybe inside of a car with all the windows closed, and that's good to know for people, but you know, those aren't the actual temps. And so now they don't tell us the temps, they tell us more like it's going to feel like this, so it's an emergency. But you know, 70s and 80s are not an emergency. See right here in the middle of this, it says heat index values of 105 to 110. Well, what is a heat index? I mean, they keep changing things, you know, like now we have thunder snow, we have thunderstorm trains, we have stationary fronts. You know, it's just everything's changing so fast. So here's the, switching gears here, but maybe not. Here's the power outage map from July 19. And you know, there's power outages all the time now across the country. And this is from poweroutage.us. So this is today, right now, current time. This is updated, I believe, every 5 minutes. This is a great resource for anyone, for all of us. We should all be kind of keeping an eye on this, but I guess that's why I'm doing these videos, to try to put it together for people so they can watch a video and get an update. So updated approximately every 10 minutes. We've got in Michigan, there are 206,000 people without power. Wisconsin, 151,000. Minnesota, 12,000. New York, 7,000. And Florida, 7,000. So this map shows the red are major outages, and the yellow are minor, or less. And the blue are none. But even in the blue areas, there none means, it doesn't mean none. It means very few, comparatively speaking. So some of these outages, you know, we can see that's where the storms were going through. So we think like, yeah, you know, it's probably storm related. However, when we do a quick search, power outages, July 19, 2019, there are continuous, constant mass power outages across the country, a lot, for seemingly no reason sometimes. And I mean, it's an increasing phenomenon. There's La Jolla, New Yorkers. Apparently this was on the anniversary of a power outage that happened there, and it knocked out all the lights. It was kind of a big deal, I guess. I didn't hear about it on the news or anything. I mean, the information's out there, thankfully, because we have the internet, but you kind of have to dig for it to put the pieces together. Power outage hit thousands of Seattle City Light customers, residents in Allegan County. California has been having pretty frequent power outages, and they're kind of strange. These are storm-related. Explosion, fire at Madison substation knocks out power to thousands. So this is in Wisconsin. Governor declares state of emergency following fires and power outages. So let's just talk about this for a second. So here's the situation brief. So we're talking about Wisconsin, right where these storms are today, right here, north central USA. So we're talking about the city of Madison, which, if we can zoom in far enough and see through the storm there, you can see it's basically an isthmus, which means that it's a strip of land that stretches across a body of water, or you could call it, you know, land with water on both sides, on two sides. But it's like a land bridge that connects the rest of the land through the water. I should turn that off, but that's what we're talking about. Hold on. So that's what we're talking about. Let's zoom out one more time so we get perspective without the storms. So we're zooming way out here into outer space and looking down on the United States. So there's the USA. So we're talking about this state right here, Wisconsin. That's where all, you know, corn and cows and cheese and beer state, and Green Bay Packers. And we're going down here to the isthmus. So yesterday, July 19, 2019, first let's set the stage. For the last 2 to 3 years, they've been raising property taxes in this area. Kind of like parts of California where people have been priced out of their homes. So you own a house, and now you can't afford to live in your house because somebody somewhere decided that you have to pay $2,000 a month to the government to live in the house that's been in your family for the last 50 years. So that's been happening. Then we get warning heat wave, heat emergencies. Okay. So on the day of the heat emergencies, on the day that it was supposed to be really bad, at 7 something in the morning, morning commute, morning rush, a power station or electric station in this area explodes, and there's billowing smoke, kind of like the apocalypse, going up into the sky, and simultaneously or almost simultaneously another one explodes somewhere over here, I believe. So you've got basically the state capitol is here, and this is a picture taken from a person in a car driving across this lake, and I apologize for the quality. It's a picture of a picture. So, you know, you can see the lake there at the bottom of the screen, and they see this big black plume of smoke. This is going to work, you know, this person's going to work. Then the person looks on the other side of the road, and there's another big black plume of smoke. What would that, to me, that would almost be like, are we under attack? So this was Madison, Wisconsin yesterday, in the middle of the big heat emergency, but before it actually got hot. There's the state capitol with smoke behind it. There's another shot. Oh, yeah, let's go back to that. You can see there. So, you know, pretty disturbing if you're driving around. So we have power outages during these days of these sudden heat emergencies, which used to not be heat emergencies. And people here, you know, one friend told me, well, isn't it wonderful they opened up the schools and the civic center arena for people to go and cool off? Which, yeah, that's nice, but didn't they open the football stadium in Katrina for people to go to? It's kind of, to me, well, you can think what you want, but it's interesting to say the least. So these are articles from Wall Street Journal headlines. This was from, well, I guess this is 2017. I thought it was 2015. I don't know, but the Wall Street Journal is covering a government operation or military operation called Operation Jade Helm. It was highly controversial. Time magazine covered it, and since then, you know, if you search for it, if you're not careful with your search, all you will find is negative kind of stuff about it, saying that it's hysteria. People are hysterical and they're crazy to think that it's anything to care about. So this is from Time magazine. Don't worry, Texas. The federal government isn't planning a military takeover. You know, basically, they're saying, you know, what's the first sentence there? Texas are conspiracy theory people, basically. You know, I don't know, but basically so they're saying that the military is having a 2-month military exercise. Now, what freaked people out about this is that it was done on public land, not on military land. It was done in cities and on private property. They commandeered or quartered in some private ranchers' homes with the apparently agreement of the ranchers. Declaration of Independence, the king has quartered his troops in our houses. You know, so you got this Jade Helm thing. And just as a side note, these are other Time magazine covers or issues. When 1939, they had Adolf Hitler as the man of the year. And the scariest thing in the world was the actual cover art, which seems to have been a man playing pipe organ, which was commonly used in churches at that time, with 2 carousels on each side, and a Ferris wheel at the top with dead bodies hanging from it. And here's some other people that Time magazine has had as their man of the year. Oh, those crazy conspiracy theorists. What's wrong with them? And it's amazing how different search engines actually wash different ideas, or, you know, basically they're censoring things. So on one search engine, you cannot find the Wall Street Journal articles on this Jade Helm, Operation Jade Helm. On another search engine, you can find the Wall Street Journal articles, but you cannot find anything that talks about the power outages that happened after they launched Operation Jade Helm. So hopefully you can see where I'm going with this. So Operation Jade Helm begins with power outages Was Jade Helm the cause of the mass cell phone outages? So across the U.S., the southern U.S., and the states where this operation was kicking off, there were power outages when they launched this operation, and now we have rolling power outages across the country randomly, random fires, not storm related. So this was kind of the map that was leaked that kind of kicked off what Time Magazine is calling the hysteria about Operation Jade Helm. Was that they had this map, and some states were labeled as hostile and some states were labeled as friendly, and no one knew where it came from. But it was rumored to have been leaked. And another disturbing thing up there in the left-hand corner was the insignia for it. Jade, meaning blue, helm, either the front of a ship or German for helmet, blue helmet. I don't know what kind of military insignia the dagger and the arrows are, but in the middle there's apparently like a Turkish clog. And who do they recruit or pay? I don't know. To me, it points, having a Turkish clog on there doesn't have much to do with the USA symbolism usually. And to me, it makes me think about mercenaries, paid mercenaries to do things that soldiers won't do on their own land. And then underneath, you can see Master of the Human Domain. That was their insignia. There was all kinds of rumors. One of the rumors was that it had something to do with a supercomputer launching, and therefore that's why, or like a human behavioral predictor computer launching, and that's why there were the power outages. So back to what else we're talking about here. So I guess this is what somebody put up as a down detector during that operation. Apparently those are a lot of the power outage areas. But, basically we've got hot weather, we've got rolling power outages for no apparent reason. Sometimes there's a reason. Sometimes there's two simultaneous explosions at electrical stations on opposite sides of a city. And, connect the dots, but the weather's changing, obviously. And, if one has eyes to see or is curious enough to dig through some information, one can make his or her own conclusions and theories. And that's why we talk about this stuff. So this has gone on way too long, but